My elder sister yearns most for the kind of love between a young lady and a scholar that defies worldly conventions, just like in the storybooks. On the day of her grand wedding to the Prince of Jin, my elder sister eloped with a scholar. My stepmother made me take her place in the marriage. The Prince of Jin is deeply in love with my elder sister and promised to let me go once she returns. I wisely drank the contraceptive herbal medicine every night, always mindful of my place. Until 3 years later, I discovered I had accidentally become pregnant. While trembling with fear, I overheard that the Prince of Jin had found my legitimate elder sister. I immediately and considerately died, until on the ship heading south, the Prince of Jin looked at me with a gloomy expression. "May I ask if you have seen my runaway consort?" Madam, it's terrible. The young lady has eloped." The legal mother spat out a mouthful of tea. "What?" The maid tearfully brought out a book. "Miss has been obsessed with this storybook lately. Who would have thought she would actually elope with that scholar last night?" The father snatched the book titled The Overbearing Mrs. Fierce Love, The Gentle Scholar's Fierce Devotion. After reading the title, he was so enraged that he fainted on the spot. The household immediately fell into chaos. The legal mother's figure swayed twice, and the matron beside her quickly steadied her, speaking gravely, "Madam, the most urgent matter now is how to explain this to the Prince of Jin." Upon hearing this, the legal mother gritted her teeth and forced herself not to faint. A pair of sharp eyes instantly shot toward me, who was cracking melon seeds and watching the scene unfold. Although my stepmother looked unwilling, she still took a few large strides over to me. She grabbed my hands, weeping and sobbing. Mien, have I treated you well in the past?" "Me, average." The legal mother choked for a moment before continuing. "Has your elder sister been kind to you?" "Me, not really." The legal mother choked again. "Now it's time for you to repay. You're asking 2 unnecessary questions. Rumors say the Prince of Jin is ruthless and murderous. If he finds out that the legitimate daughter of the Liu family has fled the marriage and a concubine-born daughter is being sent to deceive him, I'm afraid I'll be the first one he targets. By doing this, my stepmother is using my life to appease the Prince of Jin's anger. Rest assured, from now on you are also the legitimate daughter of the household." The stepmother gritted her teeth in frustration. "Your mother can also be recorded in the family register and receive offerings." I knew that even if I disagreed today, I would be tied up and forced into the bridal sedan. I could only nod, dressed in my elder sister's golden-threaded shoe brocade wedding dress. Accompanied by the sound of my stepmother coughing up blood in anger, amidst the sounds of music and celebration, I entered the Prince of Jin's residence. Late at night, Xiao Li was squatting under the corridor, her face flushed. The ambiguous panting in the room grew increasingly intense. Xiao Jin had been on the battlefield. His muscles were hard and firm. I clung to his sweat-soaked, veiny arm, occasionally slipping. Every time I slipped, I was forcefully thrust against the headboard. Xiao Jin saw that I had been knocked back a distance and quickly pulled me back in. It was truly tormenting. The hot water in the side room had never been cut off since the grand wedding 3 years ago, and water was called for almost every night. I was drowsily picked up, placed in the bathtub, and someone gently washed me, dried me off, and laid me on the bed. Xiao Jin gently pecks my ear. When I first married over, I was almost as thin as a skeleton. Now, I've finally gained a little bit of flesh. Xiao Jin is not as ruthless and murderous as the rumors say. At home, I only got to eat if I obeyed my elder sister. I had just 1 meal a day, and sometimes, when she was in a bad mood, she would whip me. Fortunately, she wasn't very strong, so I didn't end up with too many scars. The day after being punished, I would get a full meal, but I never received any monthly allowance. Even though it was a wealthy household, I could only wear my elder sister's hand-me-downs. All because my stepmother saw my mother as a thorn in her side. After marrying into the family, Xiao Jin was too busy to care about what I ate. I had a balanced diet every day and even grew a little taller. Xiao Jin was very strict with the servants, so none of them dared to flatter the powerful and bully the weak. Except for being tossed and turned every night, life was very comfortable. I snuggled into Xiao Jin's embrace, nuzzling his neck, and flattered him. "Your Highness is mighty. I always remember I took the money. We must make Xiao Jin feel it's worth every penny." Xiao Jin curved his lips and patted my head. "The pure gold crown I had someone make earlier should be ready in a few days." My eyes lit up. My lord, you are the best. Look, even the cunning and shrewd Prince Jin, whose mind is as full of schemes as a sieve, cannot escape sweet words." I hugged Xiao Jin's neck and nuzzled against him, heaving a sigh in his heart. How wonderful it would be to live here forever. The benefactor is both generous and busy. Just as I was comfortably stretching my limbs on the bed, exposing my soft belly, a maidservant stood by the bedside, holding a bowl of dark, murky medicine. My heart skipped a beat. I was instantly wide awake. I hurriedly scrambled to get up. She raised the bowl of medicinal brew and drank it all in one go, not leaving a single drop. It gave me a fright. It's true that after a few days of good living, one can get so carried away they forget which way is north. After every tender moment, Xiao Jin would always make me drink a bowl of medicine to prevent pregnancy. I am well aware of my place, so every day I obediently drink the medicine to keep Xiao Jin happy. The bitterness numbs the root of my tongue. After drinking it, I became much more alert. Taking medicine is nothing. Not only does Xiao Jin forbid me from having children, but I also deeply understand that I absolutely must not. I am merely a substitute when my legitimate sister is not around. On the wedding night, I candidly explained the truth about being a stand-in bride. Originally, I was so hungry that my mind was foggy, and I was still thinking about how to deceive him and find a way to escape on the way. It wasn't until I had eaten my fill that I realized none of those methods would work. Although Xiao Jin no longer involves himself in court affairs now, he had followed the late emperor in fighting the Xiongnu since he was 13, and as the new emperor's uncle, he single-handedly helped the new emperor ascend to the throne. Lying doesn't work. One lie requires countless more to cover it up. After much thought, the only way to survive is through sincerity. Xiao Jin remained silent, unsure if I would survive his intense rage. A fine layer of sweat broke out on my tense back. After a long while, I heard Xiao Jin's cold voice above me. "I will send someone to find your sister. Until then, you shall temporarily act as the princess consort. I am grateful for this face of mine, which bears a 50% resemblance to my legitimate elder sister. I will work like an ox or a horse to repay you." "That won't be necessary." I consciously rose to serve Xiao Jin change his clothes, then retreated to the couch in the outer room. "Your Highness, rest assured, from now on I will just be a maid and will definitely not be an eyesore to you. I really am such a clever little thing." Just as I was about to leave, I felt a tightness around my waist and was abruptly pulled back by Xiao Jin. "Do you want the servants to see this king's embarrassment on our wedding night?" I froze completely. "That's an extra charge." Xiao Jin continued speaking. "I will give you a generous amount of silver to support yourself once we find your sister in the future. Do not covet things that do not belong to you." "Silver, understood, Your Highness." "No problem, Your Highness." I quickly washed myself clean. Xiao Jin curled his lips into a smile. Turning around, I saw the bed curtain covered with peanut, longan, and melon seed shells. Lost in thought, the servants in the household are truly getting more and more out of line. They even covet the longans. Peanuts and melon seeds meant for scattering, leaving only the leftover shells, and there are no red dates at all. Tomorrow, I must thoroughly investigate who is so bold. Turning around, I saw a shiny melon seed shell hanging at the corner of my mouth. In the sleeve were dates that should have been on the bed. I chuckled twice. Truly worthy of the prince's mansion. The quality of the scattered bed ceremony is exceptionally good. Xiao Jin's eyes held a complex expression. Originally, I had prepared for two scenarios, either be killed and die a well-fed ghost, or be thrown out and survive for a few days. I never expected to make it through, knowing I was in the wrong. I worked hard to please my benefactor that night. For 3 years, I have kept to my place and served with all my heart. I drank every last drop of the contraceptive decoction each time. If my legitimate elder sister returns and sees that a substitute has a child, she will likely find a way to eliminate us. And the best outcome for me would be to be sent away. I can't protect him, even if he could survive. I don't want him to grow up like I did. Xiaojin, seeing that I had obediently finished drinking the medicine, rewarded me by placing a round, chunky gold ingot in my hand. My eyes lit up. If only one bowl of medicine could earn 1 ingot of gold. I'm not bragging, but I can keep drinking. Little moneygrubber, your little box is almost full, isn't it? I was a bit wary. How did he know about my treasure box? I gave the man in front of me a flattering smile. She lay back down, hugging Xiaojin's waist and acting coquettishly. Xiaojin's breath hitched, and he patted below my waist. Lie down properly. I obediently lay down on the inner side as told. I am so sensible, and Xiaojin is so wealthy. When Xiaojin finds my legitimate sister in the future, I must demand a large sum of money to secure my livelihood. I need to leave the city for a while and will return in 3 days. With my sleepy eyes still blurred, I remained dedicated as ever. Take care of your health, Your Highness. I will miss you. Xiaojin absent-mindedly stroked my hair without saying a word, and I soon fell asleep. 3 days later, Xiaojin returned to the mansion. Early in the morning, I brought the pear soup stewed by Xiao Li to his study to find him, hoping to coax him into giving me a couple more gold bars. I was about to knock when I heard voices coming from inside. How is Liu Qingyang doing? My mind buzzed. My fingers gripped the tray tightly, turning white at the tips. My heart sank inch by inch. My legitimate elder sister has returned. I felt as if I had fallen into an icy abyss, instantly transported back to those years of struggling to survive under her control. My father favored her and looked down on me. After my mother passed away, I was punished by my legitimate elder sister for stealing a bite of food, forced to kneel and starve for 3 days. Unwilling to serve the legitimate mother, my mother's memorial tablet was also trampled underfoot and insulted by the legitimate sister. The person I shared a bed with for 3 years has also been searching for the legitimate sister all along. Jian Yi's voice rang out. Miss Liu has returned to the Liu family. Xiaojin's steady voice continued to speak. What about the scholar? Haven't seen him. Keep watching. I didn't go in, but turned around and went back to the courtyard. It turned out that he left the city because he had news of his legitimate sister and went to find her. He even sent Jian Yi to escort her back. Thinking back to when I returned to my parents' home to get my mother's memorial tablet, he only sent Gen 13 to protect me in secret. Truly the unattainable white moonlight. I need to prepare early. Fortunately, my new script, The Prince's Runaway Bride, has finally been completed. This script, based on the Jin Prince and my elder sister, has earned me a substantial amount of money. Just as I was calculating how much I had saved, I suddenly felt a wave of nausea. I was startled, recalling the past few days. At first, my appetite wasn't great, and recently I've been feeling a bit drowsy. I thought it was just spring fatigue, but I've always been cautious in this regard. After Xiaojin left, I secretly asked Xiao Li to fetch a female physician from the neighboring county. While waiting, I fell asleep again on the soft couch by the window. In the dream, Xiaojin stared coldly at me from above. You dare to secretly get pregnant? My child can only be born by Qingyang. My elder sister suddenly stepped out from behind, clinging delicately to Xiaojin's shoulder, her gaze toward me filled with disdain and triumph. Xiaojin held his long-lost legitimate sister in his arms, coldly watching me as I knelt on the ground. You have occupied Qingyan's place for 2 years. It is you who owe her. His tone was so cold it sent a shiver through my heart. In consideration of your service to me, drink this abortion medicine and leave quickly. I look at the dark, murky medicine, feeling the bitterness seep into my heart, but as soon as I think of my treasure chest, I take the medicine and bow in gratitude. I'll leave right now, just as I was about to leave. My legitimate elder sister suddenly spoke up. Put down the box in your hand, that was given to me by a jinn. With that, he tossed 2 copper coins toward me. This is for you. Xiao Jin smiled dotingly at his legitimate sister and even placed my golden crown on her head. My elder sister turned her head and looked at me with a mocking expression. Guards, force the medicine down her throat. Then throw her out of the mansion. As soon as the words were spoken, 2 burly men entered, precisely the personal guards who followed Xiao Jin. My chin was grabbed, forcing my head back. The bitter, dark medicinal liquid was poured into my mouth and choked its way into my nose. After forcing the medicine down, they grabbed my arms and dragged me out. I watched the treasure chest grow farther and farther away, the cold medicine dripping down my face. My heart feeling as if it were twisted into a knot, wrung back and forth. No, the 2 of them threw me out at the main gate. Outside, the snow was falling heavily, and I, wearing only a thin hand-me-down gown that my elder sister had discarded, shivered uncontrollably from the cold. Xiao Jin didn't give me a single copper coin. Soon the gate opened again, and it was the same 2 people who dragged out Xiao Li, covered in blood and filth. This person stole property from the mansion and has been executed on the spot by our princess consort. I felt as if all the blood in my body had frozen. Holding Xiao Li in my arms, I sat wailing in the heavy snowfall. Xiao Li, I was wrong. I shouldn't have coveted what doesn't belong to me. I won't dare do it again. Please wake up. Xiao Li, Xiao Li. Suddenly jolted awake. In front of me was Xiao Li's face, enlarged and looking at me with concern. Miss, I'm here. I reached out and touched Xiao Li's face. It was still warm. Xiao Li reached out and wiped the tears from my face. Did you have a nightmare, miss? Just in time. The physician has arrived. Would you like her to examine you, miss? The physician finished taking the pulse. She bowed to me. It's a pregnancy pulse, a heavy blow. Although I had some guesses, I still held on to a glimmer of hope. Recalling the scene from the dream, I felt a chill seeping through my bones, and of all times. It had to be now. Fortunately, I've saved quite a bit of money over the past 2 years. It's enough to buy a small house in a remote village, where Xiao Li and I can live a stable life. I counted the jewelry that Xiao Jin had given me again. Most of it was gold, with a few gemstones as well. I won't be able to take these with me later, but I can sell them now, to be on the safe side. I still need to save more money. In the evening, Xiao Jin returned. As soon as he entered, he scooped me up and strode toward the bed. I was already prepared to handle it, put on a weak makeup to decline. Feeling a bit unwell, Xiao Jin frowned, somewhat displeased. Has the physician been summoned? He was about to get up and call for someone. I quickly said, no need, it's my monthly cycle. Xiao Jin understood. Lying beside me at night, she somehow brought it up. I heard you found a woman from the neighboring county. My heart skipped a beat. Yes. Xiaoli heard she knows how to blend the pear blossom incense and begged me to invite her to teach her. Xiao Jin asked. She was sent away in less than 2 hours. My heart sank heavily. He really knew everything. Xiao Li has no patience and couldn't learn. I sent her away as soon as I bought the ready-made incense. It's difficult for women when they fall ill. That was the excuse the female doctor used when she came for the consultation. And that's what they would say to outsiders. I feel the little one in my belly that hasn't yet taken shape and tentatively speak up. I heard that Minister Lu's mistress is pregnant and he wants to bring her home, but his wife is making a big fuss about it. His wife's family has a lot of influence. If she really doesn't agree, that child might end up being illegitimate. Xiao Jin hums softly against my ear. He didn't express his stance, which made me even more uncertain about his intentions. so I continued to probe. What would you do if you had an illegitimate child, Your Highness? Xiaojin remained silent for a long while. Just when I thought he wouldn't answer, he slowly began to speak. No, what wouldn't happen? I will not have any illegitimate children. I was puzzled. As a prince, he would inevitably have concubines and children sooner or later. Why is that? Xiaojin patted me, his voice sounding weary. If there's no mother, there won't be a child. I didn't respond again. Soon, steady breathing could be heard from behind me. I lay there with my eyes open, motionless in his arms, until dawn when I slowly drifted off to sleep. Last night I thought for a long time, if Xiaojin had a conscience, she would give me money and let me go. But according to the nature of my legitimate sister, knowing that I have taken her place these past 2 years and enjoyed her status, would she want to kill me? And Xiaojin, who had been searching for his legitimate sister all along, clearly became even more determined in his unrequited pursuit of her. If my legitimate sister wanted my life, then it would be as easy as turning over her hand. Moreover, I now carry a fatal weakness with me. Watching Xiao Li beside me, gnawing on a chicken leg with greasy lips, I must not sit idly by and wait for death. I have to find a respectable way out for myself before Xiao Jin divorces me. Xiao Jin has now found his beloved, and he must be both happy and jealous at the moment. Happy to have found his beloved, but jealous that his beloved once abandoned him for someone else. I have always been someone who knows how to read the room, and at this moment, I didn't want to see him in a difficult position. Like a considerate and understanding flower, I gently eased his worries and then brought up the promise Xiao Jin had made back then. He is a man of his word, and he has never failed to deliver on anything he promised me. I no longer dare to think about divorce. But I could pass away due to illness, which would also be better for Xiao Jin's reputation. I just need to escape before my legitimate sister makes her move, and then nothing from the dream will happen. I packed up all my belongings. I personally cooked a table full of dishes, planning to leave overnight once I obtained the imperial decree. Xiao Jin did not return that night. The maid came to report, the prince has been invited by Lord Liu and sent word for the princess not to wait and to rest early. Yes, the legitimate elder sister has returned, so Xiao Jin naturally must go to accompany her. I sat alone in my room all night. Early the next morning, I changed into men's clothing, slipped out of the mansion, and pawned all my jewelry, exchanging the gold and silver for easily portable banknotes. I then heard people on the street discussing that the Liu family was preparing for a wedding. The Liu family only had the legitimate eldest daughter, who had just returned. Unmarried, it was obvious who the wedding was for. Thinking of Xiao Jin spending the night at the Liu family, I suppressed the churning nausea. Last night I had vaguely sensed that this matter might not end well. Indeed, plans can't keep up with changes. Early the next morning, I received an invitation from my legitimate elder sister to have a talk. Holding the invitation, my heart sank completely to the bottom. Having lived under the control of my stepmother and stepsister all these years, I know exactly what kind of people they are. My own mother was tormented to death by my stepmother after she fell out of favor. Even now, recalling those methods sends chills down my spine. In an instant, I guessed everything. My stepsister has always been ruthless. This invitation is likely meant to ensure I never return. No wonder I had such a dream. It was an omen. My stepmother and father naturally knew Xiaojin's thoughts. Xiaojin had been searching for her elder sister all along, and now she would surely try every means to swap her sister and me back. But over these past 2 years, I had already shown my face in public. If my elder sister wanted to become the princess consort, there is only one way. As long as I die, she can then rightfully marry Xiao Jin. Xiao Jin went to the palace early this morning, likely to pave the way for my legitimate sister. Absence can keep one detached, preventing others from criticizing them as heartless. After my death, Xiao Jin, overwhelmed with grief, married my elder sister. There were also rumors that Xiao Jin had originally intended to marry my elder sister all along. This, in turn, became another beautiful story. However, these past 2 years have indeed given me some breathing room, and now I can be considered somewhat of a wealthy woman. Liu Qingyang arranged to meet at the largest restaurant in the capital. This is clearly a trap, and I absolutely will not go. From a distance, I saw her sitting by the window, with a large round table in front of her laden with delicacies. It seems she hasn't had the chance to enjoy such fine food these past 2 years. She kept stroking a book in her hands. The book was embossed with large, gilded characters, "The Prince's Runaway Bride." Ever since I found out my elder sister loved reading romantic novels, I thought about weaving a dream for her. 3 years ago, my novel, The Overbearing Mrs. Fierce Love, The Gentle Scholar's Tender Devotion, became a sensation in the capital. In the romantic tales of scholars and young ladies, the scholar cannot bear to let the lady do any work. After finishing the farm chores each day, he returns home to study and cook, and even finds time to carve wooden hairpins for her. Not only is he skilled in poetry and verse, but he also goes hunting in the mountains. One day is used as if it were 8, and his energy remains strong even at night. In the end, he passes the imperial examination with the highest honors, gains important positions, and the female lead thoroughly shames those women who once looked down on her. Looking at Liu Qingyang now, her face cannot hide its roughness, and her hands are chapped, even though she is dressed in fine silks and luxurious garments. She no longer carries the aura of a wealthy young lady from the past. Liu Qingyang, I wonder if the beautiful dream I've woven for you is treating you well. Whether the past was a beautiful dream or a nightmare, you now have a new dream. The prince's runaway bride is a peerless beauty who is both willful and spoiled. She loves nothing more than farming in the prince's garden, and it is this natural innocence of hers that has captured the prince's heart. However, if Liu Qingyang were to farm in Xiao Jin's garden now, it would likely only remind him of the days she spent living with another man. I'll just act willful and capricious with this face a bit more. It's only a matter of time before Xiao Jin takes a concubine. It's just a bit regrettable that I can't witness this scene with my own eyes. The legitimate mother cares most about Liu Qingyang. I'm merely repaying a fraction of the humiliation she inflicted on my mother back then. Before leaving, I naturally left a big gift for my stepmother as well. That book, The 2 or 3 Things Between the Lady and the Horse Slave, should have gone on sale today. Thanks to the reputation I've built over the years, it will surely sell out as soon as it hits the market. Xiao Li and I, carrying the money I had saved, changed into coarse cloth clothes. I set the house on fire under the cover of night. The Jin prince's consort died in the fire. I even prepared the reason myself. How thoughtful. I boarded the carriage that had been prepared long ago with Xiao Li. I just wanted to live. My legitimate sister and Xiao Jin merely want me to legitimately give up the position of Jin princess consort. Although this fire couldn't deceive Xiao Jin, it was already enough. I burned everything I had as the Jin princess consort to ashes, only taking my treasure chest with me. I only hope that he will spare me for the sake of my past obedience and docility. I didn't even get to take that pure gold crown. Xiao Jin knows how much I loved that set of headpieces. I left such a grand gift for my elder sister, so Xiao Jin is sure to let me go. Xiao Li and I disguised ourselves as men and boarded a cargo ship heading south. I stood in the cabin, watching the bustling capital of Shengjing gradually fade into the distance. If nothing unexpected happens, I will never return in this lifetime. The boat traveled very quickly, and along the way, I saw the people living and working in peace and contentment. Xiao Jin's name holds great prestige among the common people. It's not just the ruthless and merciless reputation spread in the capital. I was suffering from seasickness and morning sickness, utterly miserable. Fortunately, I met a kind young man on the ship who took good care of us. In my discomfort, I somehow dreamed of the first time I met Xiao Jin. 3 years ago, In early spring, my elder sister. After reading a storybook about a scholar falling in love at first sight with a young lady while she was flying a kite, decided to go for a spring outing by the river. When my elder sister flew the kite, she wanted me to get it up in the air first before handing it to her. There was no wind that day. My elder sister and her maid sat in the shade drinking tea, while I, already underfed, felt dizzy and exhausted from all the running. And this was merely 1/10,000th of the usual methods my elder sister used to torment me. Just as I was about to collapse from exhaustion, the kite finally took flight. When I brought it to my elder sister, I saw her eyes filled with springtime affection as she gazed at the men on the painted boat on the river. By the side of the painted boat stood 5 or 6 men, looking at us and laughing loudly. Only one man in coarse clothing tried to stop them. But the ones who were laughing were all from noble families, and no one paid him any respect. The man flushed red and bowed apologetically from a distance to the legitimate sister. The man was the scholar who had eloped with the legitimate sister. The only one sitting and drinking tea among the crowd was Prince Jin, Xiao Jin. It turned out that the scholar wasn't the only one who had taken a liking to the legitimate sister back then. This must have been the moment when Xiao Jin fell in love with his legitimate sister at first sight. After waking up and recalling the scenes from the dream, I vomited until the world turned dark. Coinciding with the ship docking at the port, Xiao Li and I wanted to go ashore for a walk. Before we could even disembark, we saw a group of officers and soldiers boarding the ship. After they took their positions all around the deck, another group of men in black, carrying swords at their waists, came aboard. I recognized at a glance that they were from the Prince of Jin's residence. Leading them was still Jian Shisan, Xiao Jin's shadow guard. I pulled Xiao Li into the gap between the cargo holds. Even holding my breath, I thought to myself, this is bad. Is this Xiao Jin not letting me go? Or is it my legitimate sister sending someone through Xiao Jin's hand? I thought I had served Xiao Jin quite satisfactorily over these 3 years. Even if he doesn't have me in his heart, he should let me go on account of my understanding. If it's my legitimate sister who sent them, then it's truly a matter of life and death. The cabin was completely silent. Xiaoli and I covered our mouths and curled ourselves up tightly. With a creak, the cabin door opened, and a light footstep entered. Beginning to look around, Xiaoli trembled nervously, and I gently pressed her shoulder to soothe her. The footsteps grew closer and closer, stopping just on the other side of a wooden crate that separated us. I stared intently at the shadow on the ground, and the shadow moved. Taking a step forward, I held my breath. Just as I thought I was about to be discovered, the shadow suddenly retreated, and the footsteps gradually faded away. As the door closed, both Xiao Li and I collapsed to the ground, gasping for air. I was about to get up to check the situation when a pair of large hands pressed me down from behind. I almost screamed, but when I turned around, I saw Brother Lu, who had always been looking out for us, peeking out. Sure, I was startled repeatedly. But thankfully, it was all just false alarms. Brother Lu signaled for us to stay quiet. He might not have gone far yet. Let's wait a bit before going out. I nodded, and the 3 of us sat together, waiting. As the word retreat was heard from the boat, we all breathed a sigh of relief. We've made it through this hurdle. We tacitly agreed not to ask each other why we were hiding, but when he accidentally rolled up his sleeve, I saw the Chu family emblem. It was also the family I had chosen for myself before I was married off as a substitute. The Chu family has a strict family tradition. Because they backed the wrong side early on, they are no longer in the court, but their century-old foundation remains. No one deliberately bullies them. But no one is willing to get involved by marrying their daughter into the family. I have no great ambitions, only seeking stability, enough to eat and wear warm clothes. The youngest son of the Chu family lacks ambition, and his family doesn't expect him to manage the household or strive for success. I was originally very satisfied, no need to manage the household and a husband who rarely comes home. Now I'm just grateful that we didn't have time to meet at that polo match. And I hadn't yet had the chance to carry out my plan. After squatting for a long time, I stood up and my vision went black. I nearly fell, but fortunately, someone nearby caught me. Bang! The cabin door opened again. I struggled to open my eyes and looked toward the person walking in against the light at the doorway. In an instant, the blood rushed backward. Xiao Jin's icy glare was fixed directly on me. Have you held on long enough? I quickly stepped out of Brother Lu's embrace, with his arms now empty. Young Lu stepped forward to shield me, exuding the fearless courage of a newborn calf. A man of your stature, the Prince of Jin, forcing a woman, what face do you have left? Xiao Jin's face darkened as if it were about to drip with water. Before he could finish speaking, several people entered from outside, covering young Lu's mouth and swiftly carrying him out. The old butler of the Chu family, who had followed them in, was sweating profusely as he repeatedly bowed and apologized to Xiao Jin. Gen 13 also came in and pulled Xiao Li away. Xiao Li was terrified and had no means to resist. The cabin fell silent for a moment. With only the scent of grain lingering in the air, Xiao Jin walked slowly toward me, each step feeling as if it were treading on my heart. Finally, it stopped just a step away from me. May I ask, my lady, have you seen my runaway princess? I kept my head down, not daring to look at him. Looking for Liu Qingyang here. Could it be that Liu Qingyang came looking for me? Thinking back to the scene in the dream, how could it play out again in a different place? I was taken back to Xiao Jin's boat by him. And we sailed all the way back in the direction we came from. I was locked in the room, and Xiao Jin didn't return until evening. I asked with a trembling voice, where is Xiao Li? I only heard a scornful laugh from above. You should worry about yourself first. After saying that, I felt a dizzying spin, and I was picked up by Xiao Jin and placed on the bed. Xiao Jin's lips pressed down, biting me heavily. Mian Mian, why did you run? Seeing me stubbornly refusing to answer, he pushed me while asking, where is Xiao Li? Xiao Jin seemed to have run out of patience. For that fool from the Chu family, trying to elope like others. You are a married woman. He grew more agitated as he spoke, his eyes reddening. Seeing me shrink back, Xiao Jin closed his eyes deeply. Sensing that he didn't seem intent on killing me, I mustered my courage and slowly reached out to stroke his back a couple of times. Don't be angry, Xiao Li. Before I could finish speaking, Xiao Jin's eyes darkened, and the next second, he grabbed my neck and kissed me. Just as he tried to undo my belt, I suddenly sobered up. I stopped him immediately, his face flushed red with displeasure in his eyes. If he wanted to continue, I would refuse again. After a few rounds, we both sat panting heavily on the edge of the bed. Xiao Jin watched as I wrapped myself tightly in the blanket, forming a long bundle. I'm so angry I could laugh. With a casual reach to the side, he snatched my treasure box right into his hands. My eyes narrowed sharply, and I reached out to grab it back. Xiao Jin dodged while flipping through it. They're all good things. Click, a sound. The box snapped shut. They're mine now. I gritted my back teeth so hard they nearly shattered. It wasn't just what he had given me inside. All the money I earned from selling my storybooks was in there too. My hard-earned money. I bit my lip tightly, flopped back onto the bed with a thud. My heart as bleak as death. There's no money left. Xiao Jin doesn't seem like he'll let me go either. Either he wants to hand me over to Liu Qingyang to vent her anger, or he's planning to keep both of us. A stand-in has no chance of winning against the one who holds the moonlight in their hands. No matter which it is, I can't escape my fate of being worn down. If only I had performed worse over these past 3 years, maybe Xiao Jin would have found me boring and let me go by now. The next day, I still didn't see Xiao Li, and seasickness made me vomit until the world spun around me. Surprisingly, Xiao Jin personally took care of me. He even allowed me to step off the boat to walk on solid ground and visit a medical clinic to buy some medicine. when Liu Qingyang wasn't around. He was genuinely good to me, that's why it's even more painful when leaving. I pretended to be embarrassed and pushed Xiao Jin out of the clinic door. He didn't insist on staying, as the entire clinic was already surrounded anyway. The doctor took my pulse. Madam, your health wasn't properly cared for in your earlier years, making pregnancy inadvisable. That's why your reaction has been so severe. If a forced abortion is performed, it may damage the foundation, making it difficult to conceive again in the future. I went back with the motion sickness medicine. On the way back, I also heard about the development of my book, The Untold Stories of the Lady and the Horse Slave. I heard that Lord Liu's wife had an affair with a horse slave even before she got married. I heard she even brought that stable boy along as part of her dowry when she married into her husband's family. I heard the eldest daughter of the Liu family was born prematurely. Does that mean, seriously? I heard even His Majesty the Emperor reprimanded the Liu family for their lax household discipline. How could that be false? I discovered the affair between the stepmother and the stablehand by accident, but I have no evidence. As long as everyone believes it, my father will surely investigate thoroughly. If even the slightest clue is found, my suspicious father will definitely believe it. Even without evidence, we can still pin the shame on the stepmother. Just as the legal mother did to my mother back then, she claimed my mother seduced the fish seller. Fearing such an incident would damage the family's reputation, she locked the doors, stripped my mother naked, and beat her with a plank in the courtyard until she was beaten to death. My mother, afraid of implicating me, shook her head at me before she died, silently urging me to protect myself. I will repay it 1,000-fold. She most enjoys falsely accusing disfavored concubines of having affairs with other men, then executing them at home. Now the legitimate mother should also taste this bitterness. However, my mother was wrongly accused, while she is the real one. At night, lying in bed and listening to the sound of water outside the window, I made a decision. I'm sorry for wanting to live myself and not wanting this little one in my belly. What I actually think is quite simple. If Liu Qingyang wants revenge on me, at worst I'll fight her to the death. But if I have a child, I could choose to die if I truly couldn't escape. But how could I bear to watch my child be killed right before my eyes? At that time, he might still be in swaddling clothes, or perhaps he would already be able to call me mother, or maybe he would have grown into a mischievous little boy. If all those moments of happiness must be paid for with heart-wrenching pain in the end, I would rather not have them at all. Just as I was pouring the medicine into the teacup, the door was abruptly pushed open. Xiao Jin's eyes shone with a bright light, staring directly at me. Then he lowered his gaze to the abortion medicine in my hand. The light in his eyes completely faded away. He swept the medicine to the ground with one hand, tightly gripping my shoulders, his eyes filled with grievance and hurt. Why did you run away? Why don't you want our child? I turned my head away, feeling a slight ache in my nose. It's you who doesn't want it. You only want Liu Qingyang. Xiao Jin was taken aback, as if he had thought of something. He helped me sit on the couch and looked at me seriously with his eyes. Mian Mian, are you jealous? I'm not jealous at all. If you like Liu Qingyang, I have to die. I just want to live, that's all. Xiao Jin had never seen me cry before. Seeing my tears falling drop by drop, he hurriedly knelt down in front of me and anxiously explained, I don't like Liu Qingyang. I haven't even seen her face clearly. This time, it was my turn to be shocked. That spring, you were flying a kite, and I spotted you at first glance. When I proposed to your father, he said you were Liu Qingyang, the legitimate daughter of the Liu family. I had Jianyi secretly deliver gifts to you, only to find out your father had lied. Later, I heard how Liu Qingyang treated you, so I sent that scholar to get close to her and trick her into eloping. Didn't you notice the wedding dress was tailored to your measurements? Back then, you were so thin you were nothing but skin and bones. I pondered and then refuted him. You said that once she returns, I have to step aside and not covet what doesn't belong to me. Xiaojin tapped me on the head. Do you think I didn't know you planned to run away the next day? You don't know me, you don't believe I can love you, so I had to give you a reason to stay. It's been 2 years. And I still haven't managed to warm you up. Since things had come to this point, I continued to press him. You said you were going on a salt inspection, but you were actually looking for Liu Qingyang. You even had Jian Yi keep an eye on her, and when I returned home, only Gen 13 was there. Xiao Jin raised an eyebrow. You didn't even eavesdrop properly. She came back on her own. Jian Yi was there to keep an eye on her and make sure she didn't get close to you again. That scholar was already on his way to take her back. Liu Qingyang won't be returning. I've arranged for someone to watch her, ensuring she never sets foot in the capital again for the rest of her life. Tears streamed uncontrollably down my face as I continued, my voice choked with emotion. And you even made me drink the contraceptive medicine. Xiaojin reached out to wipe away my tears, but they only fell faster. When you were young, your health wasn't properly nurtured. That medicine was to prevent pregnancy, but it was also meant to help regulate your body. Over the past 2 years, I've managed to help you gain a little weight. I was thinking of waiting another 2 years before we have a child. I remembered the doctor in the small town also said I wasn't in good health and that it wasn't the right time for pregnancy. Alright, now let's talk about you wanting to take the abortion medicine. I feel guilty. And that Chu family boy you eloped with in the cabin. I quietly turned my head away. He also burned all your belongings and the prince's mansion. I buried my head in his chest and retorted in a muffled voice. You were the one who said you would deal with the mother of the illegitimate child. Xiaojin gently pushed me away and looked straight into my eyes. Mian Mian, you are my wife. You should have happily told me that we are going to have a child, not asked me how to deal with a love child. I was momentarily speechless. I have never been loved, so naturally, I don't know how to love others. Love is elusive and intangible. Only the money in hand is real. I deliberately ignored all the evidence of his kindness toward me, only remembering what made me feel in control, what could convince myself to focus solely on gains and losses. I looked into his eyes, which were filled with heartache. Xiaojin slowly moved closer to me, just as he was about to kiss me. Suddenly, Xiao Li's wailing could be heard from outside the door. Your Highness, please don't. Think of the child in the young lady's womb. It's your own flesh and blood. If the prince wants to vent his anger, just kill Xiaoli. Miss, Xiaoli has been loyal to the end. Xiaoli pushed the door open and rushed in, only to see me and Xiao Jin sitting properly on the bed. With Xiao Jin's arm still wrapped around me, without stopping her steps, Xiaoli immediately turned around and hurried out. Gen 13 sighed outside the door, considerately helping Xiao Li close it again. I feel awkward. You didn't kill Xiao Li. Haha. Xiao Jin shot me a glare. You treat this little girl like a sister. Even when faking your death and escaping, you didn't forget to take her with you. If I were to scare her, wouldn't you fight me to the death? I lower my head. I truly believed that Xiao Li might have already been dealt with by him, and I had even planned how to seek revenge. But these words could not be spoken. Feeling guilty, I hugged Xiao Jin. Xiao Jin held me tightly in return. Mian Mian, you will be the only woman in my life. I didn't say anything. It was a difficult promise to believe. His voice suddenly turned dangerous. What do you mean by not answering? Or is it that you still have someone else in your heart, that young man from the Chu family? After all, you even eloped with someone. It took a great deal of effort to finally appease this petty person. For the next several decades, every time we argued, Xiao Jin would bring up this old grievance. As for whether he was in my heart, I said I would answer him when I turned 80, upon returning to Shangjing. The Jin prince's residence had already been rebuilt. I heard that my legal mother is seriously ill. Father sent her to the estate outside the city, and I even went to see her. I also brought her the latest news about Liu Qingyang. How kind of me. Father was held accountable by the censor, accused of several charges including disregard for human life and forming cliques for personal gain. Falling from the clouds is more painful than dying outright. He will soon realize that because of his coldness and selfishness, not even his closest relatives are willing to lend him a hand. I still enjoy collecting treasures in my treasure box. But Xiao Jin checks it every morning and evening to make sure it's still there. Later, he even assigned Jianyi to keep an eye on my treasure box. As long as the box is there, I won't leave. It was only later that I found out his shadow guards were ranked in reverse order, and Gen 13 was actually the top-ranked one. I successfully gave birth to a pair of twins, a boy and a girl. 2 months later, I was pinned down on the bed by Xiao Jin. The belated lesson had finally arrived. Xiao Jin truly kept his promise. I was the only one for him in this lifetime. Of course, it wasn't until I was 80 that I confirmed this. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. As a child, I became mentally impaired after falling into the water to save the Crown Prince's grandson. Feeling guilty, the Crown Princess arranged a marriage as compensation. From then on, I became the little shadow trailing behind Zhao Jingchuan, following him for 7 years. But he disliked my clinginess and my foolishness, always leaving me far behind. Once I turned 16, I will immediately request permission to tour the southern provinces. State affairs take precedence. As your son, I should first go and gain experience. Shentangli, there's no need to inform her. Let her wait for a few months and get some fresh air. It might help dry out the water in her head. I overheard a snippet of the conversation and went back to ask my grandmother excitedly, where is the wind the strongest? That would naturally be the northern frontier. The next day, I packed my small bundle, got on the carriage heading to the northern frontier, and felt overjoyed. Zhao Jingchuan used to say that Xiaotang had water in her brain, and even divine medicine couldn't cure her. There is no miracle cure in the world, but there is the wind. The wind in the northern frontier is strong and thorough. It will surely make me, Xiaotang, smarter. When we meet again and he sees how smart Xiaotang has become, he will no longer have the chance to call me foolish. The setting sun outside the window looks just like a cured duck egg yolk, hanging high in the sky, casting a golden glow on the leaves of the roadside trees. When the wind blows, the golden leaves dance. Even more beautiful than the dance of Sister Xiangji from the Prime Minister's household, Sister Xiangji is beautiful and dances well. Zhao Jingchuan always says Xiaotang is not as good as her. Clearly, Xiaotang was very smart before she fell into the water, learning everything quickly. When I return from the northern frontier this time, when Xiaotang becomes as clever as before, she will also learn how to dance. Zhao Jingchuan will have no reason to look down on me anymore. The carriage rocked and swayed as we moved forward. I took out a ripe pear from my bundle and took a bite. The juice seeped into my heart, so sweet that I couldn't help but let my eyes curve into crescent moons. A woman traveling with us noticed the crookedly embroidered pear blossoms on my bundle and couldn't resist asking me, "Where are you heading, miss?" After swallowing the pear in my mouth, I smiled and told her, "To the northern frontier. I'm going to the northern frontier." The northern frontier, the wind and sand are so harsh, and the journey is so long. What is a young lady like you going to do all alone in such a distant place? I nodded firmly, my eyes as bright as the juice at the corner of my lips, and replied earnestly, "It's precisely because the wind and sand are harsh that it's good." The woman looked at me for a while, shaking her head regretfully. Such a lovely young lady, what a pity. I happily ate the pear, not understanding her lingering tone. But speaking of the northern frontier, several women seemed to have found a topic to chat about, and the carriage, which had been silent before, was now filled with lively conversation. People from all corners of the land quickly became familiar with one another. The Prince of Zhenbei guards that region. The stability of the nation today owes much to his contributions. The prince is already 25 this year, right? How come I've never heard of him taking a consort? Ordinary women can't endure the harsh conditions of the frontier. In my opinion, the Crown Prince is already 17 or 18, and it wouldn't be surprising if the nephew ends up marrying and having children before his uncle. After finishing the pear, I tossed the core out the window and looked up at the warm sun, feeling a warmth in my heart as well. Yes, they were right. Xiaotang was betrothed to the Crown Prince's grandson when she was 9, and she is to marry him when she turns 16. 3 years ago, Zhao Jingchuan went from being the Crown Prince's grandson to the Crown Prince. This year, Xiaotang turned 16, and it was time for her to marry him. On her birthday, Xiaotang made pear cakes herself and waited from morning till night. He always said Xiaotang was foolish and didn't like her following him, so Xiaotang just obediently waited for him. Xiaotang had plenty of time to wait for him. I waited and waited, until the sun and moon had taken turns 3 times in the sky, until the pear cakes grew cold and sour, and were pecked clean by the sparrows perched on the branches. But Zhao Jingchuan never came. He said he forgot that day was my birthday. It's okay, Xiaotang doesn't necessarily have to celebrate her birthday. She just wanted to tell him that she's now 16 and can marry him to be his wife. When I went to find him, the other princes were also happy for Xiaotang and kept laughing. However, Zhao Jingchuan glared at them a few times, flushed with anger. From now on, don't call me Crown Prince brother, Zhao Jingchuan. Little Tang is already 16. I obediently changed my way of addressing him as he said, and took the opportunity to remind him, but he was still unhappy. And his tone was very harsh. So what? Who would want to marry a fool? Shentangli, stay away from me. That very day, he requested permission to embark on a southern tour, leaving Xiaotang behind once again. Xiaotang felt wronged, unable to understand why he was so angry. Before the incident, he had always been very kind to me. At that time, I was only 9 years old, and Zhao Jingchuan was 11, still the Crown Prince's eldest son. He would secretly bring me the newly developed sweet cakes from the imperial kitchen. He would climb the tree to pick the pears hanging high up for me. He would affectionately call me Little Tang, instead of the cold and distant Shentangli. So, that winter, it was also him who retrieved the kite hanging from the withered branch for me, but accidentally fell into the water. At that moment, Xiaotang didn't think of anything else, only that she had to save him immediately. So without a second thought, she jumped into the water after him. Zhao Jingchuan stepped on my shoulder to climb ashore, but amid the palace servants' exclamations, I gradually sank. By the time I was pulled out, I had a high fever that lasted for many days, and I became the foolish person I am now. The then Crown Princess, now the Empress, was once a close friend of my mother. Out of guilt, she immediately arranged for Zhao Jingchuan and me to be engaged. Zhao Jingchuan was also willing, saying, "Little Tang saved me, and I will take care of her for the rest of my life." So, it's not that he never treated me well, but as he grew up, he realized there were so many good girls in the world, so many that it was dazzling, and since Xiaotang's mind was damaged by the fever, she couldn't learn anything well and seemed so inferior compared to them. Sister Xiangji from the Prime Minister's family was beautiful and gentle, talented in many ways, and Zhao Jingchuan often spoke of her. The Lan Yin sister from the Minister of Rights family is beautiful, virtuous, well-educated, and reasonable, and he also admires her. Only Xiaotang, he does not like, merely calling her a fated calamity. Xiaotang does not blame him. After all, grandmother said, the imperial decree cannot be defied, and Xiaotang will still have to marry him in the end. After this trip to the northern frontier, once the water in my brain has dried up and Xiaotang becomes smarter, perhaps Zhao Jingchuan won't dislike me so much anymore. He might treat Xiaotang a little better then. The carriage, carrying Hope, moved forward at a steady pace. When we reached the post station, we made a stop along the way, allowing us to get off and buy some food. A grain convoy was parked by the post station, with piles of dried provisions and fodder stacked on the carts. The soldiers transporting the supplies were also resting there, having never traveled alone before. I mustered up the courage to buy 2 baked cakes. Just as I was about to take a bite, I heard a commotion not far away. The servants of the loyal and brave Marquis's residence were extremely anxious, holding up a portrait and interrogating everyone they came across. Has anyone seen this young lady? If you can provide any leads, the Marquis's estate will offer a generous reward. Damn it! The woman who had spoken to me earlier in the carriage, after looking at the portrait, rested her chin on her hand and frowned thoughtfully. The person in this portrait, she does look somewhat familiar. You've seen her. If you can help us find the young lady, our matriarch is willing to offer 1,000 taels of silver as a reward. What should I do? What should I do if I get caught and taken back? Xiao Tang will never have another chance to become clever again. I stuffed the pancake into my bundle, tears nearly falling as I searched everywhere for a hiding place. Just as I was anxiously pacing around, my gaze suddenly fell upon the towering pile of grain carts. The woman thought for a moment, then slapped her forehead as if suddenly realizing something. I remember now, this young lady was riding in the same carriage as me, and we were just talking on the cart a moment ago. She was right here. Wait, where did she go? The woman pointed towards the place where pancakes were being sold. Unfortunately, after looking for a long time, she still couldn't find the girl from the portrait. This batch of grain is meant to be delivered to the military camp beyond the northern frontier, who will take responsibility if we're delayed. The soldiers were uncooperative and in a hurry to continue their journey. The servant helplessly glanced at the long line of grain carts and had no choice but to give up. I hid among the grain piles, clutching my small floral bundle, listening clearly. So it was a grain cart heading to the northern frontier. What a coincidence. I was heading to the northern frontier too, with the flatbread to eat and the pear to quench my thirst. Little Tang could just stay on the cart and ride all the way to the northern frontier. I just feel a bit sorry for grandmother. Even though I left a letter, grandmother must still be worried. Which is why she sent people out to look for me. Once Xiaotang becomes smarter, I'll go back and apologize properly to grandmother. The soldiers were in a hurry, so their pace was much faster than that of a carriage. For 3 days, I obediently hid in the grain cart, not going anywhere. When I was hungry, I took a few bites of flatbread. When I was thirsty, I ate a few pieces of pear. When I was tired, I used the grain as a pillow, and so, without making a sound, I followed all the way to the northern frontier. Just as I was sleeping comfortably, the items above my head were suddenly moved away. The sudden burst of light stung my eyes open. I rubbed them and stood up, curiously peeking out from inside. I happened to lock eyes with a fire-headed soldier who was moving things. A ghost. After a startled scream, someone immediately pointed a sword at me and shouted, "Don't move." My drowsiness vanished in an instant. I clutched the bundle in my arms tightly. Too scared to move a muscle, I didn't even dare reach up to remove the straw tangled in my hair. Seeing how docile I was, the army cook finally relaxed a bit and muttered in confusion, "How did a woman end up mixed in with the provisions? Stay put right here, our prince will come to question you shortly." I nodded eagerly, though nervous. The wind whistling past my ears tempted me to steal a glance at the scenery outside. So this is the northern frontier. The wind is strong, and the sand is thick, blotting out the sky and the sun, making it impossible to see clearly. How long will it take to dry out the water in my mind here? After a long standoff, someone finally approached steadily, holding a letter in hand. I followed the sound and saw a person both unfamiliar and familiar. He was much taller than Xiao Tang, with broader shoulders. The dark armor he wore outlined his lean waist, making him look not cumbersome at all, but rather strikingly heroic. But that face, I blinked, making sure I wasn't seeing things. Then, with a loud wah, she burst into tears, rushing over anxiously and tightly hugging the person's waist. Refusing to let go, she wiped her tears on the armor covering his chest. "Brother Crown Prince, Why are you in the northern frontier? Is Xiaotang dreaming? You told Xiaotang to dry the water in her head, so Xiaotang came to the northern frontier. I heard the winds here are strong, surely they can blow some sense into Xiaotang. Xiaotang is already 16, old enough to marry. When Xiaotang becomes clever, would you be willing to marry her? The soldiers beside them gasped in shock at the scene. What did you call me? A man's cold voice came from above, carrying a sense of pressure. Oh no. Zhao Jingchuan said I am not allowed to call him Crown Prince brother anymore. Xiaotang was too excited just now and forgot for a moment she's definitely going to get scolded again, but after waiting for a while, he neither pushed me away nor scolded me. Instead, he reached out and removed the straw from my head. The only granddaughter of the late loyal and brave Marquis, Shen Tongli, by all rights, you should call me uncle. Upon hearing this, I lifted my head and met his gaze. Those eyes were truly captivating, sharp brows accentuating an intense presence, with thick, dense lashes and pupils as dark as the stars in the night sky. As Xiaotang locked eyes with him, it was as if she had moved into the stars, and she became even more beautiful. Wait, I think I heard something strange. Uncle, I bit my lip, looking at him with mixed feelings, unable to bring myself to say it. After arriving in the northern frontier, Zhao Jingchuan not only grew taller and darker, but how did he also develop such peculiar preferences? Not calling you uncle, and not calling you crown prince brother, just calling you brother. Is that okay? Although Xiaotang is a bit slow, she still knows that she shouldn't mess up the generational order. In the future, I'm going to marry him and become his wife. How can I call him uncle? That person looked at me for a while, then suddenly curled his lips into a slight smile, his stern face warming up with a hint of mischief. Do you know who I am? I stared intently at his face, looking left and right, but couldn't see anything unusual. It was clearly Zhao Jingchuan, except his eyes were a bit bigger, his nose bridge a bit higher, his features more defined, and his complexion slightly darker. The environment in the northern frontier isn't great, so some changes are normal. Xiaotang understands, so I told him loudly and seriously, you are Xiaotang's fiancé. Since falling into the water, aside from my grandmother, the person I've spent the most time with is Zhao Jingchuan, so Xiaotang wouldn't admit her mistake. The surrounding soldiers once again took a sharp breath, then immediately fell silent after that person shot them a glance. My name is Zhao Linyuan, don't mix it up. I suddenly understood and nodded vigorously. According to grandmother, back when mother led troops into battle, she enjoyed giving herself codenames. Zhao Jingchuan's codename was particularly unique, sounding like a completely different person, but it didn't matter whatever he called himself, even if it were Zhao Dog Egg, Xiaotang wouldn't mind. His name is Dog Egg. So Xiaotang calls him Brother Dog Egg. His name is Zhao Linyuan, so of course it's Brother Linyuan. Zhao Linyuan set up a small tent for me next to his own, right beside his. That day, my grandmother immediately wrote to him, asking him to help look after me. He agreed. There were many men in the military camp, so staying next to him was the safest option. Later, when he asked about my purpose for coming to the northern frontier, I answered truthfully. He listened carefully to my words without the slightest hint of mockery. He personally took me to the training ground. Stay here in the wind and don't run around. I replied crisply with a yes, obediently brought over a small stool, and sat upright. The wind was so strong that it kicked up a lot of dust, nearly getting sand in my eyes. I reached out to rub my eyes and inadvertently glanced down at the training ground below. Just then, I caught a glimpse of that person's dark hair tied high, swaying along with the hem of their clothes in the wind. Zhao Linyuan wasn't wearing armor today, only a narrow-sleeved casual outfit, making it easier to lead the troops. He still carried such an air of nobility that it was impossible to look away. Could it be that the winds and sands of the northern frontier nurture people? So, Xiaotang can become smarter here, and Zhao Jingchuan, oh no, it's Zhao Linyuan now. he can also become more handsome than before. Even the plainest clothes look splendid on him. I sat from day to night, unknowingly watching him lead the troops in training for an entire day. Perhaps the wind had blown away some of the foolishness in my mind, so I carefully noticed that there was a small tear in the sleeve of his uniform. As his fiancée, Xiaotang naturally had to help him out. The next day, a few small white pear blossoms quietly bloomed on Zhao Linyuan's sleeve. They covered a tiny tear that even he hadn't noticed. The person doing the embroidery wasn't very skilled, the petals were crooked, but the stitches were fine and meticulous, clearly done with great care. A few days later, almost every piece of clothing he had worn had been adorned with some lovely patterns. Those patterns seemed to have a life of their own, blooming not only on the clothes but also quietly blooming in his heart. When were they embroidered? He hadn't even noticed. Subconsciously, Zhao Linyuan turned his head to look at the small earthen slope beside the training ground. The girl who had stayed up late sat on a small stool, yawning repeatedly, yet she still insisted on coming out to enjoy the breeze. His eyesight was excellent, and from this angle, he could just make out the faint dark circles under her eyes. The little girl propped her chin with one hand, dozing off as her head bobbed up and down like a chick pecking at rice. Utterly adorable, she wore a goose-yellow gauze dress, with twin spiral buns on her head resembling kitten ears, and a faint crimson mole flickered in and out of sight between her brows. The hem of her skirt and the stray hairs at her forehead fluttered in the wind and sand of the northern frontier. From a distance, she looked like a delicious, golden pear, exuding the fragrance of pear blossoms. If she hadn't lost her wits after falling into the water, as the last remaining descendant of the loyal and brave Marquis, she should have followed in her late mother's footsteps and become a heroic female general galloping across the battlefield. Watching the young lady's drowsy appearance, Zhao Linyuan felt an inexplicable tenderness in his heart. Suddenly, I remembered that the small bundle Shentongli had carried all the way was also embroidered with a few identical pear blossoms. Thinking of this, I couldn't help but walk toward her. He considered himself a carefree person, sharing both joys and hardships with his soldiers, indifferent to food, clothing, or material comforts. If he wanted, with his military achievements and status as the Prince of Zhenbei, he could have anything with just a word. He just didn't care. Yet there was someone who, after only a few days of knowing him, foolishly stayed up late for him. In that case, let it be considered as repaying her for those few pear blossoms. The somber young man slowly approached and knelt down in front of me, feeling the wind and sand being blocked by someone. I opened my eyes in confusion and saw his broad, strong back. "Get on, I'll carry you to bed, Brother Linyuan. Do you still not hate Xiaotang?" Lying on his back, for some reason, I was no longer sleepy at all. A strange, indescribable feeling arose in my heart. Did Zhao Jingchuan used to dislike you? I remember, it was because you saved him that your brain got damaged. Saying this, I felt a bit aggrieved. I sniffled and responded to him in a low voice. It's because Xiaotang is too foolish, so she's not likable. Xiaotang can't learn anything well. She's been learning embroidery for 7 years and still only knows how to embroider pear blossoms. She can only make the simplest knots. Sister Xiangji from the Prime Minister's family, Sister Lanyin from the Minister of Right's family, they are both talented and versatile. They are all better than Xiaotang. The arm on the back suddenly tightened, as if unsure how to comfort someone. The man's voice hesitated for a moment, yet it was deep and pleasant. "The pear blossoms you embroidered are very unique, very beautiful. Do not belittle yourself. The wind from the northern frontier has a magical power. It can not only dry the water in one's mind but also blow away the bitterness in one's heart." My heart leaping with surprise, I quickly leaned down and whispered in his ear, "Does Brother Linyuan like the pear blossoms embroidered by Xiaotang?" Then, do you like Xiaotang?" This time, there was no response for a long while. The setting sun slanted, the wind and sand howled, and the path they had taken had not yet been covered by dust. Every footprint had once carried two people. He stopped walking. It turned out he had already reached the camp. But now, I don't want to rest anymore. Before the person turned to leave, I carefully hooked my hand into his. Summoning all my courage, I asked, "Brother Linyuan, there are so many weapons in your tent. Can Xiaotang pick one to learn?" The soft sensation from the palm made Zhao Linyuan's body stiffen. Hearing it was this question, he inexplicably breathed a sigh of relief. "The door is open for me to choose." Wandering among various weapons, I hesitated a little. After looking for a long time, I still felt that the red spear in the corner was the most pleasing to the eye. I weighed it in my hand. It was very heavy, and I could barely lift it. The moment I picked up the spear again, some long-forgotten memories resurfaced in my mind. I muttered gloomily, unaware of the person approaching slowly from behind, their tall shadow almost completely enveloping me. Actually, when Xiaotang wasn't so foolish, she didn't learn embroidery or knotting. Back then, Xiaotang learned archery, her arrows flew far and true, and she learned horseback riding, galloping swiftly and skillfully. Everyone said that when mother and grandfather were alive, they were renowned generals, incredibly majestic. Xiaotang wanted to be just like them. But later, when Xiaotang became foolish, grandmother, fearing I would get hurt, forbade her from learning martial arts. All the weapons at home were burned, and the little foal we had raised was given away. After listening carefully, his well-defined knuckles hesitated for a long time before finally landing gently on my head. The touch was soft. Zhao Linyuan patted my head and softened his tone. "I'll teach you, don't be afraid. I won't let you get hurt." At that moment, a rare sense of pity arose in the heart of the northern garrison king, who was known for his cold and ruthless demeanor. The young girl before him had suffered a brain injury in her childhood and, without the protection of her parents, had endured many hardships. He had thought that this feeling of pity stemmed from the blood ties she shared with his late mentor. The Marquis of Loyalty and Courage imparted his lifelong martial arts to him. And now it was his turn to teach his granddaughter, truly a cycle of cause and effect. Yet the very next moment, when that figure in pale yellow threw herself gracefully into his arms, that trace of pity quietly took on a different flavor. The young girl's heart was pure, and she carried a faint scent of fresh pear. He suddenly felt a bit thirsty. Thoughts follow the heart. Perhaps that sweet and delicious pear on the branch would be just perfect for quenching thirst. "Really, you truly don't mind that Xiaotang is clumsy and are willing to teach her?" "Yes, you're not clumsy, and I don't mind." With tears glistening in my eyes, I stood on tiptoe and quickly planted a kiss on his cheek. In my excitement, I failed to notice the fleeting shadow that passed through his deep, expressive eyes. "Brother Linyuan, you're the best. Xiaotang will repay you in the future by giving you lots and lots of children." Zhao Linyuan was true to his word. Starting from the basics, he gradually delved deeper. He taught every move by hand, never finding it troublesome, and he didn't charge any tuition fees. The only requirement was to let him pinch her cheeks and pat her head. Of course, Xiaotang was willing. She would even proactively lean her head over without him having to ask. His hand was warm and strong, with a thin layer of calluses on his palm and fingertips. I will control the strength well. Whether patting the head or pinching the cheek, I won't hurt Xiaotang. However, my grandmother said that one should not take advantage of others for free. Patting the head and pinching the cheek definitely cannot be considered as tuition fees. So, I set my sights on his bare sword hilt, spent a few days weaving the most intricate tassel I've ever made in my life, hung it on his sword as a sword tassel, then used the last 2 pairs left in the bundle to make a plate of golden, crispy pear cake. After finishing, obediently waited in the tent. Waiting and waiting, I unknowingly fell asleep after finishing his daily training. Zhao Linyuan returned to see this very scene. The young girl was sleeping soundly and sweetly on his bed. She must have been dreaming of something, as two shallow dimples appeared on her face, and he looked at the girl on the bed, then lowered his gaze to the pear blossom tassel hanging from the hilt of his sword, a smile surfacing in his eyes, so gentle it was almost unbelievable. He would rather stand himself than wake her. If anyone else had seen this scene, they would surely be astounded. This was the young hero who had dominated the battlefield since the age of 15. He is a genius general who can pluck a prize from the enemy's midst as easily as taking something from a bag. He is the prince of the northern frontier, who guards the border, repelled the Xiongnu 800 miles away, and is known far and wide. He is renowned for his might, his thunderous methods, his iron resolve, and his refusal to yield an inch. Yet, he alone tolerates a small pear blossom, blooming between his brows and in his heart, occupying a room full of spring light. When I woke up, I felt quite embarrassed. The drool had soaked half of his pillow, yet Zhao Linyuan didn't mind at all. Instead of asking me to wash his pillow, he pointed to the pear cake on the table. He has been waiting for me. Understanding his meaning, I took the initiative to pick up a piece from the plate, stood up, and brought it over. But inside, I was uneasy. Come to think of it, this is only the second time I've made pear shortcake. The first time I made it was on my 16th birthday, and the sparrows ate it all up. Whether it was actually tasty or not, Xiao Tang herself had no idea, but Xiao Tang was very self-aware. She was always a bit clumsy and couldn't do anything well. Even the simplest pastries often ended up with a strange taste. Pear shortcake was the pastry I learned to make with the most dedication. This time, it was done with much more care than on my birthday. I wonder if it will taste good. Zhao Linyuan stared at me, his gaze deep and intense. His features were strikingly handsome, sharp and chiseled, exuding a powerful sense of aggression. His pale lips parted slightly as he leaned in close while I handed him the pastry. He ate it directly from my hand, leaving no chance for resistance. Before I could pull my hand back, I brushed against his tongue, and as if nothing had happened, he licked my fingertip, his tongue nimble and warm, sending a tingling, ticklish sensation through me. Is it delicious? My heart was pounding unusually hard, and I nearly bit my tongue as I spoke. I looked at his face, and that strange feeling welled up inside me once again. Zhao Linyuan, Zhao Jingchuan. Delicious, a simple two-word comment, concise and to the point, interrupted my train of thought, as if a weight had been lifted. However, before I could even catch my breath, he suddenly chuckled softly and reached out to pinch my cheek. His fingertips were rough, but his movements were gentle. In an instant, the ice and snow melted, and all things came back to life. As long as it's made by Xiaotang, I like it. I stood there in a daze, staring at him, with only one thought left in my mind. So, Zhao Linyuan's smile was that beautiful. He looks much better than when he was the crown prince in the capital. Paying the tuition was just an interlude. Learning marksmanship still had to continue. Zhao Linyuan still set aside time every day to practice with me. Xiao Tang has the highest talent. She learns faster than anyone I've ever seen. He corrected my movements from behind, standing extremely close.
After confronting Zhao Linyuan, I've been feeling very anxious. Here in the northern frontier, some soldiers who love to stir things up have already started calling me princess consort. It feels like we're having an affair. Shintangli still has a marriage arrangement with Zhao Jingchuan. Although he is on an inspection tour in the south, he will eventually realize it one day. What if he comes looking for us, and grandmother is still in the capital? What to do? What to do? The wind from the northern frontier wasn't strong enough to dry the water in my head. Xiao Tang thought for a long time but still couldn't come up with a good solution. All she could do was sigh helplessly. To make me happy, Zhao Linyuan leaned close to my ear and whispered a few words secretly. The effect was immediate. As a result, I completely forgot about everything else and waited joyfully for the person he mentioned to arrive. 3 days later, a mysterious old man with a white beard visited the Zhenbei Wang military camp. It turned out to be the legendary miracle doctor who was rarely seen but often heard of. Due to an accident, He crossed paths with Zhao Linyuan, and since then, they have developed some rapport. Thus, it was agreed that he would visit him once every 3 years. This year, it was his turn to come. If there was anyone in this world who could make Xiao Tang smarter, it would be none other than him. The old miracle doctor felt the pulse, then deliberately kept everyone in suspense for a while before stroking his beard and speaking with an air of authority. 2 simple words. It can be cured, however. The illness has been long-standing. To cure it, it will take time and the use of extremely rare and precious medicinal herbs. In addition, he was given several jars of the prince's long-cherished aged fine wine before he agreed to take action. None of this was a big deal for Zhao Linyuan, and he agreed to it all. With the wine in place, the old man was delighted and immediately went off cheerfully to purchase the medicinal herbs and get things done. After his treatment, it didn't take long for me to clearly feel that my mind had become much sharper. It was as if long-blocked meridians had been cleared, allowing those long-buried memories to finally see the light of day. And so, the following scene unfolded. Zhao Linyuan. So I really should call you uncle. You're 9 years older than me, and you even held me when I was little. Then say it. Xiao Tang. Wishful thinking. A moment later, I remembered something else. Zhao Linyuan. It was you who carried me home when I was 10, wasn't it? Upon hearing this, he smiled faintly, reached out to caress my face. His gaze focused and tender. The cold-hearted and unfeeling prince of the northern garrison took the initiative to humble himself. It was me. That year, I returned to the capital to report on my duties and planned to visit the loyal and brave Marquis's residence. But I saw you sitting on the stone steps of the palace gate, crying. So, I carried you back. Damn it. Back then my mind wasn't clear, and I mistakenly attributed this to Zhao Jingchuan. But, changing the subject, I continued to ask him. I can't remember at all why I was crying back then. Back then, Zhao Linyuan took my hand and gazed out at the endless wilderness. Beneath his long eyelashes lay a turbulent undercurrent of nostalgia and sorrow. Having brought it up, he sighed deeply and said in a low voice, "Come with me." I let him lead me, obediently following him. Not far from the northern prince's residence, there was a stretch of desert rarely visited by people. The wind swept up the remaining sand, leaving no blade of grass growing. It's easy to lose your way once you go in. So, he only brought me to the edge, quietly watching the yellow sand churning inside. After a long while, he finally spoke, his voice carrying a barely noticeable sob. After the great battle, to prevent the Xiongnu from finding the graves and desecrating the bodies in revenge, all the generals and soldiers who died in the war were buried in this wasteland without any tombstones. Among them were your parents and grandfather. Every wisp of wind here, every grain of sand, is them. Xiao Tang, you had a high fever back then and didn't remember me, refusing to speak to me. It wasn't until you were lying on my back that you became so sad you started talking in your sleep, calling for your father, mother, and grandfather. Now, I can bring you to see this land. It must be fate. Unconsciously, tears were blown into the vastness between heaven and earth. Before I could wipe away my tears, the man beside me knelt solemnly before the desolate desert. The hem of his clothes fluttered in the wind, occasionally revealing a few pure white pear blossoms. In this vast expanse of yellow sand, it adds a touch of brightness. Zhao Linyuan today swears to the pioneering spirits and the gods of heaven and earth. In this life and the next, there is only Shentangli. The wind howled, as if responding to his vow. I wiped away my tears and smiled, exchanging a glance with him. Then I knelt beside him, cupping my hands around my mouth, and shouted my heartfelt words toward the land before us. Dad, Mom, Grandfather, rest assured, Xiao Tang's days of hardship are over. From now on, I will be happy, always and forever. Take care over there, all of you. The voice echoed across the desert, lingering for a long time, unforgettable. The yellow sand rose, and a cool breeze arrived. I only wish your heart to be like mine. Then I would not be disappointed by lovesickness. What is meant to come will always come. 3 months later, Zhao Jingchuan received the news and rushed from Jiangnan to the northern frontier. By then, I had already brought my grandmother over and was about to marry Zhao Linyuan, but was caught off guard by the sudden appearance of someone. Fool, I am your fiancé. Why have you come all the way to the northern frontier to get married? Come back with me at once. Zhao Jingchuan, without waiting for an explanation, reached out to grab my hand. However, Zhao Linyuan didn't give him the chance to touch me at all, stepping forward immediately to pull me into his embrace. His gaze was as sharp as a knife, making him dare not act rashly. The uncle and nephew bore a 50% resemblance in appearance, but their demeanors were vastly different. Imperial uncle, what kind of woman in the world could you not have? Why must you take your nephew's betrothed? Zhao Jingchuan's tone was filled with grief and indignation, his eyes bloodshot. It seems this matter has affected him quite a bit. But, is there any need for it? Back then, it was him who thought I was foolish, him who insisted on abandoning me, and him who said I was inferior to others. When did I ever steal your fiancé? Do you have any evidence? Zhao Linyuan looked arrogant, his gaze toward him filled with contempt and unwavering resolve. What do you mean there's no evidence? I was engaged to Xiaotang when she was 9 years old. Enough, Zhao Jingchuan, I interrupted him, casting a cold glance in his direction. The impatient tone in my voice made him flinch. The Queen has never publicly announced our betrothal, and now she has agreed to treat it as if it never happened. You and I have nothing to do with each other anymore. You have so many good choices, Li Xiangji, Qin Lanyan, each one outstanding. Why do you still insist on bothering me? If you can let go when it's time, you should know that dust returns to dust and earth to earth. Even after I said all this, he still shook his head, unwilling to accept it. No, Xiaotang, the things I said, they weren't really meant that way. The words reached his lips but suddenly couldn't be spoken. He didn't know how to defend himself and could only let out a bitter smile. Zhao Jingchuan, don't get yourself all worked up. Let me say it for you. I took his words and looked directly into his eyes. My heart is clear as a mirror. You think that because I've become foolish, no one else would want me except you. So you act without restraint. You resent that the loyal and brave Marquis Manor cannot offer you any support, so you look down on it in your heart. You believe I love you so deeply that even if you distance yourself in every way, I would cling to you like a stubborn patch, and thus you have no concerns. But Zhao Jingchuan, you've forgotten that it was because I saved you that I became foolish. The one in this world who least has the right to despise Shentongli is you. How could I possibly like someone like you? The little Tang of the past understood nothing, and promised to be with you for a lifetime, no matter how you treated me. I always thought we should spend our lives together. But now Xiaotang is no longer foolish. She knows what she truly likes. And she knows that your love is cheap and despicable, not worth her throwing herself into the fire like a moth. So, it's best for everyone to part on good terms. Every word thoroughly shattered and ground the past into dust. Zhao Jingchuan mumbled a few words, still wanting to offer some excuses. Until she met my eyes and knew there was no use in saying anything more, she left with tears in her eyes. On the day of the grand wedding, my grandmother combed my hair, first comb to the end, second comb to white hair and harmonious brows, third comb to a house full of children and grandchildren. The congratulatory gift sent by Zhao Jingchuan, I did not accept and returned it the way it came. I heard he was reluctant to marry a principal consort, but all of that has nothing to do with me anymore. With everyone's blessings, I wore the phoenix crown and ceremonial robes, rushing toward my happiness. The wedding night was filled with romance and intimacy. Zhao Linyuan leaned close to my ear and demanded that I fulfill my promise. That is the real tuition fee. Xiaotang is going to give me many, many children. That's what you said yourself. The rest of our lives is long. I will hold your hand. In this lifetime, there is still plenty of time to grow old together. After hearing the two stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.